welcome to the Penthouse Podcast, Candice.
Thanks for having me.
Delighted to have you here.
I'm delighted to be here.
So am I good to go here? Feels like you're grabbing like a big,
Yeah.
A couple times I get a hold of it. I'm like, oh. So
grab lower.
Candice lives here in Wilmington. She is a podcast superstar. I mean, you were like, I just noticed you're at like 93. So that's
wow. I try not to look because it gives me anxiety, and then I put like all this pressure on myself. Like I was looking randomly the other day for the sponsorship thing, and I hadn't looked in months and months and months. And at that moment, the podcast was trending like globally, and I was like, "Holy cow!" And if I just didn't look for that thing, I would have no idea.
How are you handling all the success with the podcast?
I don't know. I just do it. We were talking about doing it for fun. It's the same thing.
Something that, it's like trying to find something to interview people that you really, I mean, everybody I've had on so far, which is very few people on episode 5 or 6, have been my friends or members of the club or people that are just interesting people around town that a lot of us tend to, the more popular get, we have to pull it back because it gets to where going to the grocery store is a task. I mean, you just want to get in and get out. And I ran into your husband a couple weeks ago at OC. He was like, you could tell he was just trying to get in, get his food and leave. Mm-hmm. And I know that feeling because it's like, I don't always want to be dressed up. I'm in my sweatpants and my workout clothes. And sometimes, just rolled out of bed and it's everything I can do some days to walk the dog and get all that. I mean, I can't even imagine. You've got 2 kids now. Mm-hmm. 2 boys.
2 boys.
How old?
1 and 3.5. Yeah.
So I haven't seen you since the second one's been born.
I know. It's been a long time.
So it's exciting.
Motherhood sucks you in.
Oh, and how are you handling all this motherhood with the podcast? And
I think it's a really good lesson in trying to find balance, or I guess living with being imbalanced, right? And like accepting
our lives
that.
are all crazy all the time.
Right. And then being able to be happy and roll with the punches in that instead of trying to seek perfection.
And still like please your children and please your husband and
yourself.
Please yourself. I mean, that's the biggest thing because I always say you can't really love anyone unless you love yourself first. Mm-hmm. And so that also goes with everything else.
I was reading this book actually today, and on the chapter I'm on, it was discussing, it's kind of about the female like queen archetype, and it was saying that most women tend to fall into the motherhood category where we are constantly like nurturing, taking care of other people, and we kind of thrive in that self-sacrifice. We almost wear it as a badge of honor, and then we compete with other women, and we're like, well, I sacrificed more, I'm more exhausted, or I was up more.
I've got 5 kids and you have 2.
Exactly. And it's like this weird competition, but the idea is to go from that mother archetype into the queen archetype, which is recognizing your needs and not looking at it like I need to find a way that I deserve it or someone owes it to me, and kind of approach it the way the masculine does, which is I have this need and it needs to be tended to, and I'm going to do that now, because they were saying like a queen cannot take care of anyone around her unless she's taking care of herself and knows
she's
her
happy.
Exactly. Know what you need.
And there was I've watched a ton of your podcasts because they're great. There was one about like men taking on that role as the mother, as far as being the stay-at-home dad, mm-hmm. and having to do all the things because a lot of times nowadays the mothers, they want to go out and work.
Right.
They're like, look, I provided the child. Now I want to go back and get back into the world. And I think when you're going to plan and spend the rest of your life with somebody, you could take turns. I mean, there's be times in your life you're like, okay, I'm done with this. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to go hang out with my kids again all the time. And,
for sure.
And vice versa for him. Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool to see a dad step up and say, hey, if she wants to get out there and provide financially, monetarily on that level, it doesn't make you any less or greater. It just makes you a good team. Right.
And you just have to be honest and as to what you want within that dynamic. But I think where you get into trouble is that people don't have that conversation and they just expect it to just
the old fairy tale.
Right. Exactly.
High school
that you
sweethearts,
can have it all.
And then they get married and then they have kids, mm-hmm. and it's supposed to be this lifelong journey together. And nowadays,
but there's trade-offs for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's also the flip side, which is you have moms that are trying to do it all and they're not allowing their husband to really contribute in any way. They're like, no, I can be my own rich man, right? Like that's the thing you see. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, until
that power struggle,
until you realize that there are certain needs that you have to get externally. You can't give yourself everything. So if you try to do everything, you're going to be exhausted, and
it's
you're kind of
delegating
like
the right way.
Right, exactly. And just have the conversation. And like you said, there's different seasons for everything. So maybe she's in her career season and you want to chill out with the kids.
Spend some quality time at home,
which is so important. It's so important. There's this book called The Boy Crisis, and it talks about this really famous rock star. I think it was John Lennon, and it was when he left left the band, and he had his like newest son, and he's like, I'm leaving this all because I want to be a dad. Like that is, I didn't do it right, quote, right the first time, and I have an opportunity to do it how I wish I had. And he did that. He stepped away from.
And they had a great passionate love.
Right.
The two of them, yeah. So so where were you born? Where are you from? Like as far as how long have you lived in Wilmington?
Born in Los Angeles, California, and then I was there and then upstate New York, back and forth for a while because, you know,
just get lost in the gypsy world.
Exactly.
When you're younger.
That or just like divorce, you know what I mean? Like having to deal with two parents bi-coastal. And
your
then,
parents were divorced.
Yeah. So
so one was in New York and one was in LA.
Yep. So we had to do the
You
shuttle.
kind of
back
get the
and
best
forth.
of both worlds. Kind of at that point, you get to do the LA thing and the New York thing, and
it definitely grounds you, right? Like you have to be yourself because you're not just this LA girl, you're not just this upstate farm girl, you're kind of this weird blend.
I did that LA thing for a long time, and boy,
Yeah.
it was the perfect place. I always say it was the perfect place in my 20s, single, gay, living in West Hollywood and Beverly Hills.
Thriving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I had a blast doing it. I got to be me, you know, expressing myself in any ways I wanted to, as whether it was sexually or vocally, or, you know, I've always had a knack for keeping good people around me. And maybe that's where this whole podcast came from, because I was like, you know, maybe I can, you know, I've had a couple failed reality show pilots and things like that didn't really take off. And so I was like, there's got to be something to keep this going instead of closing that door altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so LA was, you know, it was quite the experience, and I'm glad I did it. But I'm also very glad, you know, Wilmington's amazing. And
I was gonna say, what made you leave and come to Wilmington?
well, my best friends are here, and every time I'd come and visit, it was never long enough. But I knew that there was still not enough here for me as far as the gay culture and just the acceptance, because it was.
I was
such
gonna ask
like,
about
you
that.
know, it was. I grew up in Winnebago, which is very country, and I was very accepted out there by all means. But I think this, after going back and forth so many times, and even while I was out there, I took a couple. You know, I moved to Dallas for a year. I ended up in Rhode Island and making it with an ex-boyfriend for a summer, and so I got to just kind of just gypsy around. And my boss was cool back then, because he knew that kind of job was so social, always on. And this can get like that too. I mean, that's why I need that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday sometimes to get that break, that recharge to go right back, you know, to giving it my all. And but having two kids, you're running around, and tell me about the boys.
I mean, they're amazing. I think it gives you a lot of perspective.
Because my mom had me and my brother, so to look at you is kind of funny, because my mom had two boys, and we were 13 months apart. So your boys are still pretty close.
Yeah, not that close, but close. Yeah.
It's like growing up.
Your
like,
mom had her hands full.
Yeah, she did. I mean, I was in the hospital all the time with stitches and, and us fighting and whatever else we could get into constantly. But yeah, I think it's cool because you got like Jamie Bash. She's got two boys, and she deals with the same kind of things that my mom dealt with. And I'm sure you're dealing with as well.
Yeah,
so,
already. But the baby is already kind of beating up on the toddler, which is hysterical.
Oh,
yeah, he is just like, he is solid.
So which one looks more like you, and which one looks more like Eric, and who's got the character?
It's so
each
funny
of
because they're a little bit of each of us. So our oldest looks more like Eric, but behaves more like me. Like very emotional,
opposite.
very traumatic, just very performative.
Wait, what was the one you were talking about on the podcast? How like his feelings, like if you get hurt, like he wants to make you feel like he's going to be a people pleaser. Like he wants to make sure that you're, you know, not upset, and you're like, it's okay. Like you're allowed to be upset, or I'm allowed to be upset with you. It doesn't mean I'm going to, you know, disown you or something.
Right, you can hold two feelings even more at the same time, right? So we have this idea that if someone's upset with us, angry at us, whatever, disappointed, that love goes away. So it's trying to teach him, no, you're not responsible for my happiness. That's my job. Also, I can be frustrated and still love you. Like the love doesn't go anywhere in that frustration.
So that's even in relationships. It's
For
funny,
sure.
Because you think nowadays, this could go into the whole situation with social media dating. It's like, you know, you date, you meet somebody, you match, you whatever. I've been in and out of that. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, I got to meet somebody, and I get pissed at my friends that bitch about being single. I'm like, if you're not utilizing your elements, if you're not going to go out there and put yourself out there and do the profile, do the whole thing. Yes, it's one of those not uncomfortable, but kind of those giddy little funny things, like who's gonna like me, you know? But you know, you get involved with that, and the thing about having this internet dating is the trying to what am I trying to say here? Oh, I lost my train of thought.
Internet dating's got to be really interesting, and I would imagine that there's a huge difference between like hetero dating online and the
gay dating.
Right. So
well, gays go right for the jugular.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at least sometimes it's kind
gotta
of
be
nice
really
to
intense.
say, let's go on a date first, you know?
I was do you know who Christopher Ryan is?
Yeah, I think so.
So he wrote Sex at Dawn.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So he's like he writes a lot about like sexuality and like kind of the evolution, how we came from like bonobos, chimpanzees, and behaviors that stemmed from that. And he was trying to describe dating within like
meeting somebody in a bar anymore is over.
It doesn't happen. He goes,
you
"What
go with
is?"
your friends now and get hammered, and then you just hope you meet somebody online when you get home. Sort of ways we going.
I wouldn't be able to function that way. I don't think I would be able to date online. It just wouldn't
it's
translate.
a nightmare, y'all. It's terrible.
Yeah, he goes, what does a gay man bring to the, or no, what does a lesbian bring to the second date?
God knows, that's a good one. The second date?
The second date. A U-Haul.
It is a U-Haul.
What does a gay guy bring to the second date?
Oh, God, a cock ring?
What second date?
Oh my God, there's never a second date. It's like onward to the next, take a ticket.
Yeah, so he was describing like the sex drive differences between like men and women and how they are kind of exaggerated once you look at the gay community.
They want to go right into the house and move in and play house. And the gays are like, okay, there was one thing about you I didn't like, so I'm never going on a date with you ever again.
That happened. One of my girlfriends, like one of her biggest turnoffs is if a guy bends over and you can see his butt, like at all. She could be totally in love with him.
Oh,
and if there's any butt crack, it's totally done. I'm like, you gotta get over that.
It's kind of a plumber's butt, they call it. Plumber's butt.
Yeah, that it's a 100% deal breaker for her.
And that's what kind of sucks is like you meet somebody, you're like, okay, this is kind of going good. And with gays, it's like the top and bottom thing. If it's like you're not going to be compatible, you know, then like right off the bat, there's no, you know, it's like you can have this amazing connection. The conversation is going great. It's like, okay, so like, all right, are you a top or a bottom? And you know that's totally the make or break a lot of times.
And there's not like a switch, kind of like
instead
in BDSM.
of just saying it right off the bat and being like, hey, like I guess I gotta admire some of the guys out there. They're like, I'm a top, I'm a bottom. You know, I think being versatile for me is sort of fair game. At least you know I'm not limiting my options. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, the internet dating is a nightmare. It's just, but you know, some people have had really good luck with it. I have a girlfriend that she was in the pits and she was miserable. She's going through a divorce of 20 years. And then she literally, I said, look, you got to suck it up. Just get on Tinder or Bumblebee or whatever it's called. And the other one, what's the other one? They have to ask you like 40 questions. Hinged. They got to ask like you like all these stupid things like, and I'm like, I get like halfway through it and I'm like, never mind, because it's so frustrating. Because I'm like, it's not the way I want to convey myself. And I guess I am still old fashioned. I want to meet somebody out in my day to day. Like, you know.
So do you believe in like serendipity or fate?
Absolutely.
Or, you know, like you're going to drop something and then, oh my God, it's the man of your dreams.
And that's the way I want it to be. Mm-hmm. And if it's not going to happen, then I mean, I've tried that. I've tried everything. You know, I've had literally probably, I've had 3.5 serious relationships throughout my whole life, as far as boyfriends, live together, the whole thing. And, you know, they all run their course and it's unfortunate, but, you know, at least you made forth effort to go through with it. But it's tough. I mean, we all want to make money. We all want to like live nicely. We want to trip. We want to travel. We want to do all those things. But, you know, what I was getting to, that's what I was getting to with earlier with social. You have one fight, one little disagreement. They're already back online. I mean, they're already back on Grindr or Hinged or whatever you call it, and they're already like, they could for one day go fuck somebody. You would never know about it. Completely like, you know, and then like you get back together a week later, but then it seems like that's so easily forgotten when that sort of thing happens. And I've had that happen, and I'm like, ew, like really? Then you find out about that, and you're like, okay. Really, we had one small little fight and we broke up for a day and you ran off and just went and screwed somebody else. So it's tricky, but I think
too many options.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It is. And so understand, like, are you still doing films? Are you still like dabbling a little? Like
dabbling, like I use it as a creative element. So I mean, I just do stuff by myself. Like I don't work in the industry. I haven't in a long time.
I didn't think so.
No, yeah, I got out a while ago, and then when I left, I was self-producing. So I I guess
miss
yes
it
and
kinda,
no.
a little bit?
I miss
Because the creativity part, not, I'm
Yeah,
sure you're married, you have kids, I get it.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then, but you know what? You have an open mind. There's some people that like we go back to that fairy tale that doesn't exist anymore. And I hate that people still live in this world that they think, same thing. The guy, they have a fight, he gets online, he's married, still goes screws somebody out, whether it's out of town or at work or whatever. It's just so easy to just go out and get laid.
But that's like
nowadays.
a weak person, right? So I look at it as like a really good filtration process, because you want someone who gets more resilient when they're tested, not someone that breaks.
That's what I want to be like, okay,
right,
we fucked up, let's fix it.
Exactly.
Like, how is that going to make us a stronger couple instead of tearing us apart?
Right. And that's up to you. So you get to decide if it's going to be something that like forges you in that fire, or you're just like, I'm out. And then you're constantly going to be stuck on it, kind of like in this Dante's Inferno, and just repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, because you either fix
the next
it.
One, the
exactly.
Next one,
yeah. So you can fix it with the person that you love, or you can just keep moving on and then pretend that like you're somehow going to find the perfect person that has no flaws, nothing that ticks you off, nothing that grosses you out. They are the perfect person.
The butt crack hanging out.
Yeah. None of that. They can like predict every single want and need that you have before you even want it. Like that's not a reality. So it's just, you're filtering out weak people.
I got a kick out of one of your podcasts. Well, it kind of coincides with a couple other ones about dreams. So like so I have crazy ass dreams all the time. I think because our brains don't just shut off that easily. And like I'll wake up and be like, oh shit, like it almost felt so real that it was like, I feel like I'm in trouble. Like did I really do it? I think I did. But no, it was so interesting how you kind of go so deep into some of your podcasts, and I think it's awesome to really get into people and to be able to have an intellectual conversation that's not targeted at anything maliciously, and they're awesome. I mean, there was a lot of like the weight loss ones, a lot of like the dietary podcasts. The one with Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, come on, like this, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I'm like, look, I have nothing against her. I love that Country Strong movie was great.
Yeah. I love GP. Don't get me wrong, but some of this stuff is garbage.
Yeah, it's like
garbage.
Okay, not everybody can just. Well, okay, but I think there's another thing with nutrition, is our bodies are all different. Right. Our chemical makeup is completely, all of us have the different, some of us need more water, some of us need more meat, some of us only need vegetables, but I could never just live off of vegetables. I don't
think anyone just needs vegetables. I would argue against that.
I'm dying for steak talking about it right now.
Did you see that one girl? She was just in Bali. She was like a raw vegan, and she was posting, and just vegans, it's like an entire personality. Like that's
whole
their
culture.
Whole, right.
Yeah.
That's how they identify. It's the whole person. So she had this,
I don't eat
like
meat.
Right.
I'm like, oh,
like good for you. So she has this like cult following. She ends up dying of malnutrition, and like a post right before was just all these coconuts and all this fruit in front of her, and she's like, I'm living off of just raw fruit, and then she died.
Because a lot of your blood type depends on that too.
That's one theory. Yeah.
A girlfriend of mine in San Diego, she was really into like Reiki and all the self-healing, and being a vegetarian was one of them, and her blood type worked with that diet. So if you're having the wrong diet for your blood type, like this girl, I mean, it didn't, yes, you shouldn't be eating McDonald's 3 times a day. I get it. But like, I don't know. I need a little red meat, but
well, I think that's where people get confused, because it's like you're conflating fast food with meat consumption, and it's not the same thing. All
food.
Meat,
Yeah.
But that's not meat. At McDonald's,
like
that's
cardboard.
not right. That's like filler and all of this trash. But like, there's no more like bioavailable, nutrient dense food item in the world than red meat, and there's very few people
chicken,
that
you see
are
the people
intolerant.
that work out like crazy, like chicken. They love chicken vegetables. I'm like, there's got to be more of the
and especially if it's
meal
not
supplements.
If it's not organic, it actually causes more inflammation than like bacon does, chicken does. So if you're doing that, it has to be organic. Otherwise, you're getting yourself into like inflammation territory.
And you know what? Recently, I've had like so much problems with my skin. I've been like breaking out. It's like weird. I don't know if it was stress, if it was like. It could be anything. I've moved twice in the last 2 months. It's been a lot of craziness, and my whole staff, love all of them. But one of them went off to law school. The other one met a boyfriend. The other one's just going back to college in general. The other one had a bad breakup. And it all happened at the same time. Love all you guys. But
and you're in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And as I'm moving.
Yeah.
So it's like, I try, I moved back in Landfall, and you guys are over there, and
Mm-hmm.
you love it. It's something about having that gate does bring a little bit of privacy to your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we all understand people could jump a fence. That's one thing, but it's just that's one thing I'm gonna miss, about living there, was because I felt when I got home from work, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Scotty buzzes me through there. There was a little bit of relief, like, okay, made it, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just recently moved downtown. I'm gonna try it out for a year.
That's brave.
I know it is.
Oh God.
So I moved, one of these apartments down here, and
those are really nice.
yeah,
though. They're really nice.
it's cool, and Rex loves it. I feel like I can, like, I've been so crazy about my dog as far as safety, because somebody I could never have a roommate, but if I did, I'm always scared they're going to let them out, and then next thing you know, they're in traffic, or or they just don't. They're here. That's like my kid. That's the closest thing to parenthood I'll ever experience, and I'm like obsessed with them. And so having them there, because there's a gate, and then there's another little arm that goes up, so it is pretty safe down there. And we're on the 4th floor, so it's cool. It's definitely not a view like this, but it's I like it. I'm getting used to it. Everything's so close. The one thing downtown Wilmington really needs, please somebody, open a grocery store, like a normal grocery store, whether it's we'd all like a Fresh Market or Whole Foods in a real world.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Come on, even a Publix. I love the Harris Teeter. I'm not mad at the Teeter. I'm not. The one at Wrightsville Beach is pretty good. I'm the go-to of Oleander Drive. I just know where everything is in there. So
I only go to Whole Foods.
Yeah, right.
I know. I'm one of those.
I need to take lessons. I know. But if we could get one downtown, then I feel like everything was like really here. But so give me some tips on this podcasting thing, because I'm so, like I said, I'm a 4, 5, 6, whatever. I only do 2 a month. What I'm doing right now is just enough. But I think now that I'm getting sort of planted down here, I'll be able to make time. This is like, so we shot Misha and Anthony Demings. He's like in the independent film stuff recently, and we did those 2 at the same night. And then all the moving stuff happened. So it worked out perfect that we did those 2, because it held us over, because you want to keep your viewers interested. And so I'm really dropping the ball left and right. I know they're going to kill me, but no, we're getting there. And just keeping your audience in tune with what's going on. And I see that's the most important part.
Yeah, it's just engaging. I think a lot of it is, like we were talking about, serendipity and fate, and it's just something
just happening
timing.
The way it's going to be.
Exactly. It's like one person reposts something, or you're a guest on someone's show, and then that thing takes off, or you have someone on, or you just can't calculate for those things.
The analytics too.
Right.
Yep.
And some people say consistency. I don't know that that's necessarily a rule you have to abide by, because if you look at like Dan Carlton in Hardcore History, he does it whenever he feels like it. He'll go like 6 months without an episode and then drop like 15 hours, right? So he does whatever he wants, and it's
like
wildly
a couple
successful.
Good guests in a row.
Right. Yeah. So there's
help it
always a way to kind of make it exactly what you want it and tailor it. Exactly.
And with this space, there's so many things we could do. And I feel like
you need to get like a sign back here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's a good tip. We
Branding.
Need more yes. The Penthouse Podcast.
Yeah.
That actually was from Bruce Bowman. He is an architect in town. He's also a member of the club. I should have him on at some point. He did that literally right after I signed my lease. We had my first event. It was for the Heart Foundation. And that explains the red lights on the top and the pH. And I saw that in a gallery, and I called him. I said, Bruce, what in the world? I was like, you did that. Like, come on. Like, I said, now you got to hold that because I want it. And
yeah,
so
it was yours.
It was not a cheap little piece of artwork, but it was very well worth it. And he's great. And I feel like down the road, like years after this place is done and I'm on to other things, that'll be my one little stamp that's like my hallway somewhere that I'm like, okay.
I did that.
I did that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's been cool. But like, so what are some things you have coming out? Like, what are you doing in the future? Like,
oh man. So I just did an episode today with, I cannot remember her name. I don't really do the reality show stuff. It's not, I used to. I don't watch it. It's not my jam.
I don't even know what the hell's going on TV in general.
I don't either. I watch some shows.
I watch the killer shows. All the
That's so bad for you.
I know.
Stop doing that.
Okay.
You want to meet the love of your life. Turn that shit off.
Okay.
Yes. It's low vibrations, Jesse.
Okay.
No, I just did an
That's a
episode.
good tip right there. Okay, I'll take that one.
You know, it is actually scientific. It will hurt your immune system. It will invade your dreams, your thoughts. Yeah, don't
what
do
am I
that.
doing?
What are you doing?
God knows. So cool. All right. So why don't you buzz me? Why don't you drill me a little bit?
Drill you. So I would let's see. Let's get my interview hat on. I'm not prepared.
I know it's like it's
a different
Have you ever
vibe.
been interviewed before?
Yeah, I do.
I figured. Okay,
yeah, all the time. I did one today with she's a Real Housewife of Dubai.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
fun.
I think she was doing it in her closet, which was probably
In
bigger
her
than
closet.
my house.
Oh god, what staircase and everything. Is
Chandelier.
she in Wilmington?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, we did it virtually, which
Oh,
is a
fun.
lot of them. So that's always an option too. But it's not the same because you're not
The
vibing.
interaction, like I'm like I want
It
to hug
makes
you because
a huge difference. I
I haven't
think.
seen you in forever.
Yeah. So
And you look stunning, and I'm
thank
proud
you.
of what you're
I got
doing.
dressed up for you.
Oh my god!
I
Well,
did.
you look amazing. Look at those boots, everybody.
I know.
My
I got
god.
these. We went to this like hippie
She
festival.
had to kill a couple crocodiles in Brunswick County to get those suckers on.
I did. And some girl outside was like, "I like your fit," and she was like way younger than me. I was like, "I guess that's what we're saying. Thank you." The fit.
Oh god. I'm finding it. I'm like, you're just schooling me a little bit. It's keeping me current on things, especially music. Like I got to the point where I was like, some nights you get so sick of hearing the same shit, whatever. But you always have to play to your audience when it comes to music. It's the vibe. It's whatever. You can't play like, I got to play yacht rock to my older clientele, and like there's you have your younger ones that don't know Leonard Skinner and Bob Seger and Tom Petty and all those, but that's kind of where I'm at still. I don't mind that. But no, I thought that was cool about the vibrations. I mean, just taking things in perspective and being like, okay, that right there, to hear it, somebody else say it, especially put me on the spot like that, because now I'm like, damn, I gotta quit watching that crazy shit.
No, look it up. And then there's like really cool studies when it comes to water. So obviously we're like 70%.
What's your sign?
Water. Gemini.
Aquarius.
Okay.
So
water sign. So you got it going on both ends. So you have double water. So sensitive, intuitive, right?
Yes.
Emotional.
Definitely intuitive.
Yeah.
Could be sensitive. Can also try to be strong when I'm not. That's a hard one to do a lot of times. But Gemini.
It explains a lot, right?
It's a good one. I've always got along pretty well with Geminis.
Yin and the yang.
The cancers of my life have been the disasters, I think.
Oh, one of my babies is a Cancer.
Oh, no, boyfriends wise, I mean, yeah.
I'm into, I think, combining the signs, and obviously, like, some of it's just fun. Like, you don't want to base your entire...
It's kind of, you want to play around with it, because I always feel like my sign sort of trickles into other signs. Like, I think Pisces is the one that I'm on the cusp of. So some of the Pisces qualities sort of, I feel like I bring out more of those than my own Aquarian sign.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
There's this one website I plug all the time. I'm a huge like fan / acquaintance of the founder of it. It's called Teledippity, so it's numerology. And I
all numbers.
Promise you, there will never be a more accurate reading. And he does personal one-on-ones. It's free to sign up. Anyone who's listening, do it. It is so fun. That's built into my calendar because his is legit. Like one of them, and this happens all the time with his things. It said specifically like last Tuesday, everything I had planned was gonna just fall apart and just to roll with the punches, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? And like, sure as hell, that was my day. Like one of the babies got strep, the nanny had strep. I ended up getting strep, and I don't even have tonsils. So I didn't know
that one
that's
seems
possible.
to fly around easily. Strep throat.
Yeah, like my guest that I was supposed to have on was crazy, and I had to cancel it because sometimes you book someone so far ahead of time, and you're like,
life's changed by the time you get there.
Right,
yeah.
I'm vibing with your message right now, and then something happens either within your life or their life that you just you go off in different directions, and you're like, I can't have someone who I like fundamentally disagree with like first principles on the show. I can't do that.
And I knew, like, I was like, okay. Candice and I haven't seen each other in forever, and I was like I said, I saw her husband at OC, and by the way, he's fine as hell. You got you a hot little ticket over there.
It's really funny. My nanny like still gets really flustered when he's in the room, and she can't really talk to him. Like you've got to figure out.
I think
how
I
to
feel
talk
like
to
that
him.
around Eric. I really do. I get like all like I can't like think straight when I get around him.
He's got his own fan club here for sure. See, he's blushing right now.
So I want to plug mine as well. Or was that still Yeah,
He's I think I don't know if he actually sold. He's in the process of selling.
That was speaking of my
yeah.
little 21-year-old that was working over the summer, obsessed with it. Like that's like his place to go. Like he's like the coolest man. And he's a very good-looking kid, and so I'm sure he goes there and picks up all these pretty girls. And good for him.
Yeah,
I'm happy for him. He's a knockout. Everybody say he looked like. Everybody was calling what's the guy? Patrick Swayze.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like my little mini Patrick Swayze. All the women are like, I'm like, girl, he's like 21. Like, chill out. He's like a quarter of your age.
Isn't it weird how that's socially acceptable, but the inverse isn't? The inverse is like, you dirty old man,
yes,
don't do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
it's not
weird.
Fair.
It's either wrong or it's not wrong. You can't just say
Yes.
like it's okay for women, but it's not okay for men.
That seems to happen with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Because you want to be whether women want, to be the power role or whatever. It's crazy because, you hit on, like, they'll hit on, but if it's the other way, there's like a young girl back there and the guy does like, oh, you pig, like whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's okay. I've got a couple of friends that have significant age differences.
Same.
And if it makes your life happier and you both, can find a happy medium and actually love each other, you can't help that. And there is a difference, 21 and 65. I mean, there's always that like, okay, Anna Nicole Smith, would love you, girl. God rest in peace. But come on, that man was like
about to die.
Could barely like, I'm not going to go any further than that.
But then I guess with that, I mean,
But you love each other, I guess.
Even if it's not love, right? Even if it's not love, like what else does
money.
that man have? Does he have family that's there every day?
He
Does he
treated
have
her
love?
really well, and
she probably treated him well too.
That's what
she's
I meant.
like riding around on his lap while he's wheeling
and the
around.
horse, and she's like riding around. Did you watch the documentary?
No, I want to so bad.
Cute.
I do want to see that.
I did enjoy it because I mean, one of my friends, Bobby Trendy in LA, you might have heard that name before. He does a lot of he did a lot of her designs and her like interior design and all that.
Stunning too.
Yeah, and it was like when I was hanging out with Elizabeth Taylor, it was the same era of her with Anna Nicole, him, her with they, them. How are you handling that? Like,
I think that that's bullshit. I don't think it exists. I think that that's just like narcissism with a different hat.
But it's not proper English.
It's not proper English.
It's not even close.
And it's also just like, how self-inflated are you that you're trying to control my language, right? Like,
yes.
I'll call you by your name. I'm never going to say a they, them.
Yeah.
Right. And I have friends that are transgender and
Me too.
go by their
tons of
pronouns.
Transgender friends.
Right. Like, so Buck Angel is a friend. Do you know who Buck is?
Well, that name, you can't forget who that is.
Yeah, Buck is like the first female to male.
That was like Candice Kane. The one, Lena Bradford's is another one. Those are like
old, like the OGs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And fully committed. I mean, if you saw Buck walking, you would never know.
You would
like,
never know.
Totally passes.
Same with Candice. She is stunning.
So I'll
and a
do
performer
that.
like you wouldn't believe. I mean, she sings, she dances, she choreographs, she's spinning around bars. She's, she does the mommy dearest thing like you would.
And it's real.
It's
right.
So
it's
real.
so real. But then you see other people and it's not. And it's like you see a dude who's
you're
6
talking
foot.
about, I know you're talking about Buck now. The one that's
Buck.
like.
Yes. And he was
he's not playing.
sexy.
Yes.
Like built, like beard, like just smoking a cigar. He did an ad for Calvin Klein. And again, you would never know that there was a transition ever. Like you would never know. Like the voice kind of gives it away. And also he's like so grounded, right? Like he doesn't deny that he's a biological woman, right? Doesn't deny the transition.
He's owning it,
doesn't
which
deny
is
that there
fair
are
to
sex
everyone,
differences and
as
that
far
those
as
differences are
partners.
important, right? Doesn't deny that if you're dating someone that you have to give them disclosure, right? Like just very honest and grounded, which I totally respect. But then you have this new age coming in where it's all about themselves. And it's like, how dare you ask what's between my legs? That makes you a bigot. Or there's like a cake gender now. So if you allow utter free expression, right? Like you want to say that
You identify as a cake.
Something like that. There's There's like demon pronouns, like ghost pronouns. It's getting crazy. So it's like, at what point do you reel it in? So you have to decide something and like die on that hill. Otherwise it gets maddening. And where it gets crazy is that they teach it to the kids. And the kids don't even know how to spell their own name. And
they're not even there yet. And
stop it.
And Candice, I was obviously still am a very feminine man. And as a kid, like, I I played with GI Joes, but I also played with Barbies. All my like young friends were very pretty little girls, and like we rolled deep. Like we'd ride a 4-wheeler and then we go build Barbie houses. Like, I mean, but it didn't mean that, like, I couldn't imagine now at that young of an age deciding what sex I wanted to be for the future.
No.
I mean, I don't.
And then do you find it to be kind of homophobic though in the same way? Because it's like you're not allowed to be a feminine man, you must be a girl.
If you're going to be that feminine, you have to be a woman. It's like, but I did see Megyn Kelly's explosion a couple weeks ago on that. It's like, she's like, I have, just like we're saying, we have tons of all kinds of friends, not just transgender or gay or whatever you're comfortable in your skin and is you. But she just blew up because at some point she's like, you know, she's like, she hit the wall, obviously. She's like, she's like, you won't understand childbearing. You won't understand menstrual. There's things like that are like so far beyond something we should never even like go into as far as it being a man and trying to compare yourself to that. And I kind of agreed with her because I was like, okay, at some point it's like enough. And you see, like, I've got, you know, a lot of the majority of my membership are straight men and women, and I do have a good solid handful of gay whatever you want to be people. And it's crazy because I'm having a hard time myself explaining it to people that ask me about it. I mean, I was at a party I was asking I was at a party for an older gentleman that we probably both know very well, and it was majority of, like, you know, it was the beach music people. You know, they're probably 55 to 65. They're like, you know, they're all kind of from that same generation where even gay was hard. They still had back alleys and they still had to be very private. The men were still having women to prove a point that they were not gay, and which is such a sad way to, you know, have to live your life when you have to live a secret and a lie. And it's sad to the female or to the husband, whichever lesbian or gay it is, to have to find that out when they thought it was somebody they really loved. But then they have to understand that they were going through some pain of their own. And I get it. That identifying thing is difficult. And I think, but, you know, we're just from a different time now. Like, I don't know.
I think the truth is timeless, right? And I think if you degrade these pillars of reality, then you're left with like nothing but rubble. So you have to agree, like, yes, if you want to get into quantum physics, like there's very few things that are like factually objective. Like everything is based off of perspective and possibility, sure. But we're operating in this realm that I have to be able to say chair and you have to know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So once we degrade
a cake, I'm like, okay,
right.
Cake.
If you degrade vocabulary down and say that words mean nothing, then now how do we communicate? How do we relate? How do we bond? How do we solve problems? We can't.
Yeah,
right. And then you're othering more. And then there's this great quote. It's by, I want to say, Earl Nightingale, and it's the self-actualized man doesn't identify with any group. Right. So it's, if you are so heavily leaning into how you identify, you are so utterly lost and you don't know who you are because you're not that thing.
I mean, how could you identify when you don't know who you are?
Right.
Like,
yeah, you don't know who you are. I don't wake up every day and I'm like, I'm a woman.
I'm a woman. Hear me roar.
No, I just
burning
am.
bras in the street.
No. So I think that's like a symptom of a much bigger issue.
I know. And like going back to me being a kid, it was like, I loved hanging out with my girlfriends. And at one point, maybe I did want to be a little girl. Maybe I did.
But imagine though. So but here's the thing though too. Like imagine, and this is so common.
I'm glad I didn't pursue it because now I want to keep what I got.
And you have a teacher with their own agenda, and they're like, "No, you're actually Jessica. You're really a girl. We'll change your pronouns." And now you feel this social commitment and this weight to follow through with that. You follow through with that. Once that happens, I think like the rate of transition is like 80-90%. You do that, you take hormones, you ruin your bone structure, you get cancer.
Oh my gosh,
your
no
organs
longer
are sexually
shot.
function. You never get to experience orgasm. So you did this all pre-puberty. You never know what an orgasm is, right? Like you never can have children. Like these are huge decisions that you're giving to a kid that doesn't have consent to anything else. It doesn't make sense.
There's got to be some sort of, I mean, I'm not a politician and I'm not trying to change laws right now, but there's a certain part of me that's like, you know, there's got to be some sort of limitations on allowing people to let their kids at that young of an age, whether it's like before 18, like when we buy a pack of cigarettes. Tattoo. Same thing.
Why can't you get a tattoo?
But that's a lot easier
to erase nowadays with a laser than anything else.
And so it's just baffling. And I think a lot of people are so to the point where they're good, kind, loving people, and we want to keep that about ourselves. But then that comes up, and with like transgender, it's like all over the place. It's like constantly. And I like was going to earlier with saying my majority of my members from my club are males, straight males, and that are open and cool with me.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like what they have to see on their social media every day when they're scrolling through their Instagram. It's like, whoa, wasn't ready for that, like, and they're still trying to keep some sort of politeness about it without being rude or hateful and come across as a bigot or whatever. But it's a lot to digest a lot of times. And even as a gay man, for me, when somebody asked me a question at that party I was talking about, the beach party, the older people, they were like, I got cornered. This lady was like, so what's your take on all this? At a party when she's drinking. I'm like, whoa. I was like, I don't know what my take is right now. I've had 16 shots. I don't know like what's going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know. Everything's good. Just been running this place, and I'm missing you. It's so good to see you up here.
It's good to see you too.
This is like really, like I said, look at the sun. Look, this is hitting it just like Misha got the sun. She's getting the same sun right now. It's like the same time. It's like beaming right. Oh, Eric, look at your wife. She's so pretty. We got to get him up here next.
He's been doing some podcasts.
Are you?
Yeah, he's trying to.
Should we fit him in for 5 minutes or so?
Do you want to come in?
Come here and say hi.
He's like, I'm not prepared.
No, that's the best way to actually be, is not prepared. I think I'm learning one of the tips that,
Yeah, he's been diving into like the investor space and the psychedelic space.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Speaking of, some lady asked you about postpartum and be psychedelic.
Oh, on Guys We Fucked?
Died. I was like, what is she asking her? You're like, well, I was breastfeeding and I definitely wasn't taking psychedelics. I was like, literally, that I got a laugh out of that one because she in the way they edited it with her like tripping on everything. I was cracking up. That was actually pretty
the way they worded that. I was like, good God, someone's gonna think that I'm like,
think you're like tripping
in with a baby. Yeah, I'm like, no, watch the whole thing.
I did. I saw that. I was like, what is she saying? She's like,
for clicks, you know what I mean? So it probably is like, whoa, she's a terrible, trippy mom. I gotta watch this one. Look at this train wreck coming through.
My God, I did. That was pretty funny because I was like, how's she gonna handle that one? Because I'm like, I know she's not tripping. You're like, well, I'm actually breastfeeding. I'm not like doing any psychedelics.
I had no idea that was going to kind of be the whole tone of the episode either, because I figured it was going to focus more on like sex and relationships and things like that, and then they just took it to psychedelics. So I guess that's what we're doing. At the very end, they actually brought the trans stuff up, and I was like, oh God, I was trying to avoid that.
I didn't even. We can cut that out too. I don't need to go all into that. I kind of just want to, I'm having not a hard time, but I'm just still trying to educate myself enough so I don't come across like, I don't want to hurt any of my friends' feelings. I don't want to like, I'm not here to like. Do you think
though that sometimes like.
But we're allowed to have our own opinions.
But what's
a
better friend though is like a friend that's honest.
Honesty.
Right.
Absolutely.
Or a friend that's like coddling your feelings all the time. And then it comes back to like, are you weaponizing compassion? Like, are you trying to kind of distort what that actually means? Because if you have, let's say, a dog or a horse and they go lame, do you let it just like wither there, or do you put it down? Right. So compassion is executed in many different ways. It's not always like cuddles and butterflies and
it's sometimes shit just sucks and you have to fix it or make it better.
Or you have like a train wreck friend, right? Like maybe you have a friend that's dealing with addiction and you're like, you need to get your fucking shit together.
You're drunk,
you can't be like, oh, you're fine, you're partying.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with a cocktail. No, you have to be honest. Like that's what love is. Love isn't like just good feelings. Like you're a shitty friend if you have someone that needs an honest conversation and you're denying them.
Don't hurt me and help me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's gonna counteract and it's not gonna work. And real true friends will tell you what you don't want to hear.
Exactly, and then they'll thank you for it later. On their own time.
We're both really fortunate to have so many good friends. Britt just got married in the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. I couldn't go. I had to work all weekend. Getting married or anything that happens on the weekend, people, you know where I'm at. But if you had your wedding on a Monday, I would definitely be there. But happy for her and Walt. That's exciting.
Walt's
They've
great.
been together forever. I love Walt.
I love Walt.
Love him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the best. And
Southern gentleman.
Another one's with the ring on it. I'll be the last one. I think I'll be like 80. It's be right before I die. Okay.
Have you heard Matthew McConaughey's story about like his his like trajectory of finding love and like what that looked
Is
like
he
for
still
him.
single?
No, so
Okay.
he's now married with children, but he was at this place where I think he was in his late 30s, like approaching 40, and he's like, man, I thought I'd be married by now. I thought I had kids by now. Like he really wanted to be a dad. Like that's something he always wanted to do. And then he got to this place where he had to sit and meditate on what if I never find love. So he envisioned.
I'm there with that.
You're not yet.
I am. I'm
So-
like meditating constantly. Like I've been meditating. Like there is a difference, and maybe the difference between prayer and meditating.
No, I think they're very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah,
'cause
very
you're like,
similar.
You know, a lot of times we're in go mode that you have to stop. And I found myself like the shower is the time when you have no phone. You're cleansing your body. It's like your time when you're getting it together before you have to take on whatever meeting or day or whatever you've got ahead of you. And you know, it'd be nice to have somebody in the shower with me, but you know, a lot of times I don't. But yeah, those prayers that I pray, and I mean, I have a religious side somewhat still, and I also still have a very heavy spiritual side, and I think it keeps me grounded too. It helps me check myself, realize I'm not unstoppable. I mean, I can always get knocked off my pedestal just as quick as I climbed up there, and it's crazy. Life is tricky. It throws us these little curveballs, and I'm embracing the fact that look, we have a job. I have a roof over my head. I have a car to drive. My dog is like my kid, and I've just moved downtown, so it's this whole new like life. I literally feel like, Candice, I moved to a different town. It feels like it's just as
Wilmington has the pockets.
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't really leave your little pocket, and they're all so different.
I'm always going to be a landfall, Wrightsville Beach pocket kind of guy. I can't help it, y'all. You know that about me. But it's interesting. I like being very close to work. That's kind of cool. I mean, I don't, there are some days I'm like driving back and forth from the beach to downtown 3-4 times a day. I'm spending half of my day.
That's a lot.
Wine deliveries, liquor pickups, meetings, the meetings that I have to have about the things that happen at night. So,
I just got a weird flashback of picking up booze with this guy, Eric.
oh God, Eric.
Do you
isn't it
remember going to
fun?
pick up booze from ABC for the bar? I just got a flashback
Like
of
you got
that.
to put it in before 2:30 the day before. You got to pick it up before 4 o'clock.
going
the
with the
next day.
Cadillac and loading it up for the bar order.
God.
Oh my God.
It kills me
Yeah.
some days because I'm like racing against time with the liquor because I'm like, okay, you can never run out of Tito's. That's like rule number 1 in the bar business nowadays. But no, it's just been crazy, and I've got some other things in the works, possibly something toward the beach. I've got some meetings coming up about something over there. But I don't know. I'm just sort of getting the grasp of this downtown thing. And thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for
It means a
having
lot
me.
to me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had fun.
Well, you got anything else you want to say?
No.
Let's plug your
I guess,
podcast
Yeah, plug the
now.
podcast. Yeah, check out Chatting with Candice anywhere you get podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, all the good stuff.
Like it, follow it, subscribe it.
Yeah, share it.
Help me out. We're just coming up. Our little baby podcast over here.
That's how it starts.
Hey,
right?
we're having fun with it. But I love you.
I love you
Thank
too.
you very
Thank
much
you.
for coming today.
Anytime.